Good morning, everybody. What a lovely day it is, indeed. And the Astros won again, so it makes it lovely. And Cowboys are next, yeah. Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Georgetown. Thank you so much for being here today and joining us during this time we spent together in a sacred space. That's what it's about, just creating a sacred space and being in that space and in that loving energy that we all bring together. So we share while we're here. We share in singing, we share in laughter, we share in meditation and affirmations, and we learn a little bit now and then, and which is an amazing thing. As I said, first time I went to Unity, went home and told my wife, whoa, I went to church and I learned something. That was weird. Anyway, Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. We offer tools. I want to talk a little bit about tools today also. And we draw from all paths to spirit. I want to talk about that as well in my lesson. We envision a spiritually transformed world. That's the big one. That's the one we're really working on, a spiritually transformed world. We have no dogma, no creed, but we do have 5 principles that guide our philosophy. And our fundamental belief is in oneness. That makes us different from everyone else. We don't believe in separation. We are all truly one. And our fundamental practice is being in the present moment, being mindful. Once again, welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Georgetown. Announcements. I want to start with just a little, sending out some little positive energy to Donna Sue and to Elizabeth, because Elizabeth is having a little bit of a health challenge, and of course Donna Sue, lost her son recently, and so our prayers and our thoughts and our hearts are out with them both today. So I just wanted to remind of that. Wednesday, we have our Let's Get Metaphysical class at the park. And this last week, we had 17 people. Yeah, no, it was cool. And everybody, and we're learning about each other. We're learning about new things. And we get a chance to open up and really discuss things. And it's really, really cool. Like I said, if you want to be part of it, just let me know, and I'll add you to the list. I'm going to send out 2 videos. I've got really 2 good videos for this week. One of them, we're going to introduce AI. We're going to start getting into that little idea. What is happening with AI? The Twilight Zone. Let me see, what else? Oh, next week we have a Dia de los Muertos celebration. And my daughter, who is kind of really into it, she'll do a little video. She'll talk about it. And then we're going to do the ofrenda. Kathy and my wife are responsible for all that stuff. I don't know what they're doing, but so bring 2 pictures, or more if you like. But and if you have a little gadget or something that kind of represents what they liked to do, like with my nephew and her dad, they were both big-time cowboy fans. So we have a little cowboy candle that we can put next to their picture, things like that, a golf ball, whatever it is that was really a passion for them, and bring that as well next week. And since we don't have the band going right now because Orlando's not here, what I wanted to do next week is do the 2 songs that we did at Drum Circle one day. It wasn't Drum Circle, it was at Kathy's at the book club. But there's 2 songs that we do normally that are really Drum Circle songs. And so next week, I invite you to bring your noise makers, that all the little gadgets, the shakers, the drums, whatever you have, and let's do those 2 songs in Drum Circle style, okay? So let's have fun with that. Book club, yes. The Tuesday book club will meet, after all, at Larkin Owl, the bookstore downtown behind the Monument Cafe, and it'll be at 1 o'clock instead of 10. And we're going to discuss The Universal Christ, which is by Father Richard Rohr. And we were listening to it this week on audiobook, and gosh, this guy, he's a Catholic, or was, but I don't know, he's not how active he is, but he is, if you're a Catholic and you want to reconcile, Catholicism with unity, this guy is like a unity minister. He really, really is. I said, Father, I mean, we've been talking, Unity's been talking this for 130 years. Makes no mention of that, but that's okay. We still love him. Anyway, what else do we have going on? I think that's it as far as the announcements go. So we start our service a little lighthearted, so we can kind of just release all that energy that we might have brought in here that we don't really need. So we'll start with laughter is the best medicine. So there was a child who asked his mother, "Where do people come from, Mother?" And she said, "Well, Adam and Eve had babies, and then their babies had babies, and so forth until we got to us." And she said, "Okay." Then he went to her dad and said, "Same question. Where do we come from?" And he says, "We came from monkeys. We evolved, and now we are like we are now." The child runs back to her mother and says, "Mother, you lied to me about where people came from." She said, "Honey, I didn't lie to you. And by the way, neither did your father. He's just talking about his side of the family." Let's rise and start the service for today.
I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing love today. I'm choosing love today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing love today. I'm choosing life today. I'm choosing life today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing life today. I'm choosing joy today. I'm choosing joy today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing joy today. I'm choosing heaven today. I'm choosing heaven today. I am walking the road of heaven right now, singing, I'm choosing heaven today.
And now I'll light the candles that represent the law of divine order. And the three aspects of divine order are mind, idea, and expression. When we align ourselves with divine mind, we're inspired with divine ideas and emotion, divine ideas and emotions, which we then express through our thoughts, words, and actions, and we become co-creators with God. And now we have another song.
Run this race. Hold my hand while I run this race. Hold my hand while this race. Stand by me while I run this race. Stand by me while I run this race, for I don't want to run this race in vain. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race. Guide my feet while I run this race, for I don't want to run this race in vain.
And now please join me as we affirm our prayer of intention together. Living Spirit opens our minds, opens our hearts, touches us all deeply with love, and sends us out as agents, agents of love, agents of peace, agents of justice. Amen. And now is the time, if we had our children here, we would be sending them out to Sunday school. So they aren't here today, but let's send them all a blessing, and we're so grateful to have those beautiful little souls in our church. And now please join me in affirming our statement of being. There is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life. God, the good, omnipotent. And now our vision and mission statements. Centered in God, we co-create a world of love, peace, and abundance. We are a thriving spiritual community, inspiring and empowering individual and global transformation as exemplified by the life and teachings of Jesus.
Good morning. Our daily word for today is prosperity. With God as my source, I live abundantly. No matter how much I have in the bank, the kind of car I drive, or the house I live in, I know these things are mere manifestations of abundance. The source of all prosperity is God. I look beyond appearances to find a deeper meaning of prosperity. Meaningful work that I enjoy doing is part of my prosperity, not only because of what I earn, but also because of the satisfaction I feel when I use my skills. My house becomes a home when it's filled with people I love and care for. My financial resources don't diminish, but multiply when I share them generously. As I look beyond the good things in my life to the love, the creative insight, and the limitless flow of divine ideas that brought them into manifestation, I discover true abundance. And from Proverbs 8:18, we read, "Riches and honor are with me, enduring wealth and prosperity." And our affirmation today is, with God as my source, I live abundantly. Yep, they're there. Wow. With God as my source, I live abundantly. With God as my source, I live abundantly. Thank you. I didn't even have to tell you to say it twice with me. You guys are so awesome. Good morning. Thank you for being here today.
It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know It's in every one of us to be free. Find your heart, open your eyes and see. We can all know everything without ever knowing how. It's in every one of us here and now. It's in every one of us to feel free. Within your heart, love that will not cease. We can all know everything without ever knowing how. It's in every one of us here and now. It's in every one of us here and now.
Now let's relax, breathe, and join in prayer together. We allow our minds to become still and our hearts to open. We become aware of the energy of oneness that surrounds us in this sacred place. All separation dissolves, and we feel our connection deeply. We expand that oneness outward from this place to enfold our families and loved ones. May they be well, may they be safe, may they live joyfully. Our circle of oneness then expands even further to include our community, people we know, and those we've never met. We hold intentions of the highest and best for all of them. And now we open our circle of love and compassion to include all beings. We see them sharing and nurturing one another and our planet together, each one thriving according to their nature. We surround all with the light of loving kindness, affirming their highest good. And we allow this vision to radiate out from us to illuminate and heal our world. And now we hold any person or situation you're praying with today in light by speaking them aloud now or simply holding them silently in our hearts. Now we close our time of prayer by singing together an ancient prayer, one that affirms that God's realm is here and now on earth, the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
A couple weeks ago, I talked about using affirmations as a spiritual practice. So today, I'd like us to consider affirmations partner, which is denials. And using denials in prayer helps us to activate one of our 12 spiritual powers, the one that we call release or elimination. And you'll hear more about that when Reverend Tommy talks about the 12 powers today. Denial sometimes tends to take a back seat, especially in unity, because after all, we like to focus on the positive. We don't want to think about anything negative. But really, denials work hand in hand with positive affirmations to help us create a possibility-centered consciousness. A denial can be something as simple as either saying the words, "I release" or deny, and following it with whatever limiting thought or feeling that we want to let go. And then we usually follow that with an affirmation. In her book on the 12 powers, Reverend Martella Whitsitt compares unreleased error thoughts to a body of water that gets stagnant and smelly when its flow is blocked. And she says when we let our minds get clogged with thoughts like unforgiveness, self-criticism, fear, or separation, it blocks our flow, and that can cause stinkin' thinking. But when we work on releasing limiting beliefs, it opens the flow of new ideas and creates space for affirmations to take hold in our consciousness. Now, I want to be clear that spiritual denial is not the same thing as psychological denial. You know, the one that's not a river in Egypt. We're not trying to pretend that the condition or thought doesn't exist. In fact, it's actually just the opposite. Instead of allowing unexamined beliefs to create our experience, we bring them out into the open where we can name them and choose to clear them out if they no longer serve us. And this may not be an easy or quick process. It can take working through layers of old thought patterns, and that's why it's called a practice. Many of you know that my niece made her transition last week. Now, our relationship was loving, but it did have some rough edges, and her death was sudden and unexpected. It left me with some unresolved emotions. So when I pray about this, I could simply affirm Ruth and I are connected in love for eternity, and that would be true. But it feels more meaningful for me when I pray, I release all regret, guilt, and judgment about my relationship with Ruth, knowing that those fleeting emotions have no power to diminish the all-encompassing love that connects our spirits for eternity. And so when I name the human emotions and then begin to release them, it opens my heart for deeper healing. So if there's something that you want to manifest in your life, think first if there's anything that might be limiting you from making it a reality. Maybe it's an inherited worldview that you've outgrown. It could be childhood experiences, old hurts, unforgiveness. Whatever it is, as you begin to see and release it, you free yourself to live more fully into your true divine nature. So now as we relax and breathe, prepare for meditation, we open to our inner wisdom. And if anything you want to release comes to mind, just imagine that you're lifting a heavy burden off your shoulders and setting it aside. And then feel the lightness and freedom of no longer carrying that heavy weight. And then rest with gratitude in the silence. And you'll know to bring your attention back to this place when Dan begins to sing.
imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us. And the
We're into that learning thing. Fillmore, as I will talk about in a minute, Charles Fillmore, Unity co-founder, was very, very intellectual. He really liked learning a lot. So this subject falls under the topic of classic Unity teachings. And during the course of next year, I will try to cover some of these 12 powers a little more in depth as a lesson. So today is just a general overview of them all. So what are these 12 powers and where did they come from? We have to back up just a bit to understand this. As I said, Unity was founded by Myrtle and Charles Fillmore. Initially, it was Myrtle who started it because she had received a diagnosis of tuberculosis in her 40s. And in the 1800s, that essentially was a death sentence. And she went to a New Thought lecture one night and heard a speaker, and she was transformed. She grew up a Methodist. She was very, very spiritual. Charles, on the other hand, was a bit more skeptical initially. But once he saw that Myrtle was able to do self-healing, he really jumped on board. And as a heady intellectual type of a guy, he concluded that if it's possible for one person to do this, then surely it must be something that resides in all of us. We must all be able to do this. And he really took this on. And back in February, I did a lesson on the origins of Unity, how it's all started. And if you remember, Charles, as a young boy, suffered an accident. And he left one of his legs kind of crippled, basically, because he lived out in the boondocks. There was no doctors around or anything like that, so he couldn't see anything. And so this resulted in that he could not really attend school, normal school. But he had the good fortune of having been schooled by an educated young military wife who was the mother of a friend of his. And this lady introduced Charles into all kinds of stuff, literature of different kinds, including the Transcendentalist movement. Now, Charles was quick and eager to learn. She loved it because her son was like, yeah, whatever, with the school stuff. And Charles was not like, he was like, oh no, tell me more, I want to know. And so long story short, Charles grew up very well versed in many, many fields. And stuff that he would not have learned at that young age, at that point in time, but he did. So fast forward now to when Unity began. As I said, when he jumped on, I mean, he really jumped on board. Now they both had Christian backgrounds, and so they took the model of Christianity and began to kind of reinterpret it, the message, into what I would consider a higher level of consciousness. And it came to be known as we call it, the metaphysical interpretation of the Bible. And in this context, metaphysical simply means spiritual. Now, another word to describe this way is allegory. And this is what it says in the dictionary about allegory: a narrative or visual representation in which a character, place, or event can be interpreted to represent a hidden meaning with moral, political, or spiritual significance. That's basically what the metaphysical interpretation of the Bible is. So in this way of interpreting, then, every person, every place, everything, everything, it's in the Bible, represents some aspect of our infinite spiritual journey. It makes it personal to each of us. So within this context, there is an Adam, there is a Moses, there is a burning bush, there is an Exodus, there is a Mary and Joseph, and even a Jesus, all within our consciousness. Why? Because we share one consciousness, one overview consciousness. Emerson called it the one soul, or the oversoul, right? The oversoul, yeah, the oversoul. Of course, that raises the question, and I raised the question, I said, are you trying to tell me that the authors intended us to interpret it this way? Really? Now, intent, well, maybe not, but hey, sometimes we're guided subconsciously by things that we don't know what was guiding us, so maybe they did intend it that way. In either way, it doesn't diminish the value of the interpretation. And I see it, as I said before, because it gives you a chance to see it from a bigger perspective, from this greater perspective that you might call the mountaintop. And that is always, I've said that before, every time they're going to receive some kind of a revelation of any kind in the Bible, they went to the mountaintop. Now, what does that mean exactly? It means that you elevate yourself to a higher consciousness. And from that perspective, you see the situation. So anyway, Fillmore had a very clever way of seeing the Bible, and the 12 Powers was one example. He writes in his book, The 12 Powers, inherent in the mind of being are 12 fundamental ideas, which in action appear as primal creative forces. It is possible for a person to ally himself or herself with these forces and thereby cooperate with creative law. And he says the subconscious realm in humankind has 12 great centers of action. Then he makes this interesting correlation. He said, when Jesus had attained a certain soul development, he called his disciples together. And I said, well, that's an interesting one. First time I saw that. And what he's saying is that when we reach a level of spiritual unfolding, like Jesus did when he was about to begin his ministry, then we bring together all these faculties that we have and use them in order to achieve what we want to do spiritually. If I were to use an automotive term, I'd say like, okay, we're firing on all cylinders now, one of those things. So now get this point, he says. This is the first and the second coming of Christ. Fillmore's a clever guy. He said the first coming is the receiving of truth in the conscious mind. And the second coming is not Jesus coming back. It is the awakening and the regeneration of the subconscious mind through the superconscious or Christ mind. That is the second coming. In other words, when your light bulb turns on, that's your second coming. Not that somebody's going to come, from that way. So it was very interesting how Fillmore was able to put it together, this interpretation of the Bible. And it says, an interesting point to know about the 12 powers is that each functions in 3 ways. There's that magical number 3. The first is as a perfect idea in divine mind. The second is as a growing concept within our consciousness. And the third is as an expression into the manifest world. Now, what does that sound like? Mind, idea, expression, divine order. The Reverend Galen McDowell, he had a program on Unity Online Radio. He puts it this way. He said, the 12 powers teach us to work with total consciousness. And I said, okay. So what are these 12 powers? They are, in no particular order, faith, strength, wisdom, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, elimination, and life. And Therese shared one about elimination this morning. So thank you for that. So it's important to note that as all spiritual gifts, this is not, the 12 powers is not something that we have to go out and get. In fact, it says it's not even something we have to develop. It's something that we need to activate. They're already there, but in potential. How many times do we talk about that all the time? Yes, it exists in potential, waiting for you to activate it. And one way to do that is through spiritual practices. And that's why we're really big on spiritual practices here at Unity Georgetown. And as a matter of fact, I'm looking for ways to expand that. And one of the things might be to bring in, this Let's Get LGM class has really let me know that we have some extremely gifted and talented people in this room. We really do. I am probably the least of you all. And I want you to share some of what you know and do with the rest of us. And one way might be, for those of you who do certain things, practices, is to come up and help us during the spiritual practice part of the service and let you guide us through something. It's an experiment. We're going to see if we can work on that coming up soon. At any rate, that's why it's so important that we dedicate a part of the service to that. And remember also that we have 14 spiritual tools I tell you about. So Fillmore, once again, was extremely clever. Not only did he interpret parts of the Bible, I have a book this thick that's called The Metaphysical Interpretation of the Bible. Every character, everything, the guy tells you, in his interpretation, what that character or person or place or whatever means. I don't know how he did this. Extremely clever dude. I'm really impressed with Fillmore. Always have been. So I early on I learned that I told you that. So he was exposed to many different worldly views, and that way blended into all the different ideas that he had. Like, for example, the Buddhist deist concept of an impersonal God. But the difference is, of course, we bring in a personal God as well. And this Eastern influence very much is in the 12 powers. So in the 12 powers, Fillmore not only connects us to the 12 disciples, but he connects it with several different centers of the body and colors, much like chakras. So you see that influence he has of that. And like the chakras, he attaches colors to them. So the 12 powers have a disciple attached to it, a color, a location in the body, and even a month of the year. They are truly the blending of a lot of different ideas coming together. And so, of course, this is all because, well, everything is one, and which supersedes all other lessons. So I'm just going to summarize real quickly the 12 powers and what corresponds with them. Again, today is just an introduction to the idea of 12 powers. So the first one, starting from the very bottom of the lowest part of the body, is called elimination. It says the color is russet, the disciple is Thaddeus, the location is the lower intestinal region, and the function is to be ability to release, let go, and the month is November. The second one is life. The color is red. The disciple is Judas. The location is in the reproductive area. Function, ability to energize, vitalize, enlive, be whole, healthy. And the month is December. The third one is order. The color is olive green. The disciple is James. The location, back of the navel. The function, ability organized, balanced, to sequence. And the month is September. The fourth one is strength. The color is spring green. The disciple, Andrew. The location is the small of the back. The function is the ability to endure, to stay the course, to persist, to persevere. The month is February. The fifth is judgment / wisdom. The color is yellow. The disciple is James, son of Zebedee. The location is the solar plexus. The function, ability to evaluate, discern, appraise, apply what you know. The month is March. The sixth one is love, and the color is pink. The disciple is John. The location, back of the heart. The function, ability to harmonize, unity, and attract. And April is the month. Domination. The color, purple. The disciple, Philip. The root of your tongue, or larynx. The function, ability to master, dominate, control. And I'm not talking about controlling other people. I'm talking about controlling your thoughts, having dominion over your thoughts. And the month is May. Then there's zeal. The color is orange. The disciple is Simon. The location is the brainstem. The function is the ability to be passionate, to start, to motivate. And the month is October. Faith, color, royal blue. Now we're getting into the higher colors. Disciple is Peter. our first pope, I believe. Location is a pineal gland. The function is ability to believe with confidence, have conviction. January is the month. Then there is imagination. Color is light blue. The disciple, Bartholomew. Location, between the eyes. The function is ability to imagine, envision, dream, conceptualize. The month is June. The 11th is will. Will, the color is silver. The disciple is Matthew. It's located in the front brain. The function is the ability to choose, decide, and to lead. August is the month. And the final one is understanding. The color is gold. The disciple is Thomas. The location is the front brain again. And the function is the ability to know, to perceive. And the month is July. So again, today's lesson is just simply an introduction to these 12 powers. There's lessons that can be done on every one of them. And in fact, when I did my SDS for my LUT, everybody's assigned one. I was assigned elimination. So I'm very familiar with elimination. And so I wanted to just do that for today, just cover a couple of things for you about the 12 powers. And again, they're spiritual faculties. And you can see that we don't use one at a time, obviously. We're using everything at the same time, all the time. So now I want to just take a few moments to center ourselves on the idea of the 12 powers. We begin, as we always do, with gratitude. Gratitude for our access to these wonderful and miraculous faculties that we are endowed with as spiritual beings having a human experience. We are reminded that our power of will is for choosing to be here at Unity today. We know that our power of wisdom has brought us to this place and to this time. We turn our attention to our power of elimination as we release and let go of all false and limiting beliefs that we may be harboring in our minds. We give thanks for our life and our ability to energize, vitalize, enliven, and to be whole. We approach life with zeal and passion for this human experience. We demonstrate strength and perseverance as we traverse through life's challenges, those that present themselves to us. And through faith, we believe that what is in our highest good is manifesting for us right now. And with love, the great unifying power in the universe, we attract all that is ready to become part of our greater experience. We rest in this great understanding, and we know that all is well. And so it is. We continue now our service with our love offerings, a time when we come together and give to the spiritual community so we can keep going forward and sharing this wonderful message of unity that we have, a unique and beautiful message. So we take our tithes in our hands. Together we say, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love, and I trust God.
Everything I see, everything I do is blessed by your hand, God. I give it back to you. Everything I give, every thought that's true is magnified in kindness.
send your energy forth to our tithes and our offerings. And together we offer our dedication. We bless and dedicate these tithes and offerings as an expression of divine love. We release them to manifest that in our community and in our world. Now, this would be the time when we bring out our children and everything. So we want to continue always to bless the children, even when they're not here. So let's bless the children. We say, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. Let me share something about that I heard during the regional board meeting, because this week, Tuesday, is the annual meeting. And somebody shared their version of that blessing. And they said, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, we behold the Christ that is you. And I said, I like that better. Because the Christ in you, if you've ever read Eric Butterworth, one of our classic writers, he says, God is not like a raisin in a bun in you. Because you get that Christ in you. So this thing is in you. It's not in you, it is who you are. So it's better to say the Christ you are. So maybe we'll change that, I don't know. Anyway, let's rise and sing our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be our joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, I am, and all is well. Have a great week, and I'll see you Wednesday.